Good morning. It is 9:10 a.m. and I'd like to call the California Board of Psychology meeting to order and ask that Ms. Mencia please call the roll.
Tate,
Here.
Rogers, Kasuga,
Here.
Cervantes,
Here.
Fu,
Here.
Harpsheets, Nystrom,
Here.
Phillips,
Here.
Rescate.
Here.
Thank you. Quorum established.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for joining us this morning, and thank you for being a little flexible and patient this morning. We tried to get up and running as quickly as possible, and I'm glad to see we have a great audience today. Welcome to the May 2025 California Board of Psychology meeting here in Berkeley at the Wright Institute. Before we begin, I have a few items to cover this morning. You will notice that all board members have computers in front of them. All of our board materials, agenda, any paperwork is on the computer, so we will be referencing that all day today. Continuing professional development credit will be available for attending today, and I'm going to give Mr. Polk a few moments to share how to properly document your attendance for CPD credit. Good morning, Mr. Polk.
Good morning. Attending today's in-person board meeting provides you with CPD credit under category number 1, attendance at a California Board of Psychology meeting. For attendees who are in person with us today, the sign-in sheet provided will be the board's record of your attendance. Please sign in and out as needed for today's meeting. For your CPD records, please notate today's date as May 9th, 2025, and note that we are here for the board meeting. Please maintain this record as certificates of attendance are not provided. At the end of today's meeting, I will announce how many hours will be credited for attending the full meeting. Since today's meeting is designated as in-person meeting only, CPD credit will not be given for viewing the meeting through the webcast, as the option to interact during the public comment periods will not be available. Again, at the end of today's meeting, I will announce how many hours will be credited for attending the full meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. On the agenda, it does say we will have a mindfulness exercise, and our esteemed Dr. Rogers is not here today. So we will not be having a mindfulness exercise, but I'm sure we will take it back up with our August San Diego meeting. Any board comment on the President's Welcome, agenda item number 2? Any public comment on agenda item number 2, the President's Welcome? If you do have a comment, please come forward and have a seat in front of a microphone. Oh, okay, I'm not seeing any movement my direction. Moving on to agenda item number 3. This is public comment for items not on the agenda. The board may not discuss or take action on any matter raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda of a future meeting. Before I invite speakers to come forward for public comment, I would ask individuals making comment to not discuss the specifics, including names, as to pending complaints, pending licensing applications, or pending disciplinary actions that may come before the board for a decision. Such discussions are considered ex parte communications, as they could provide information to the members that is outside of the record in violation of the Administrative Procedures Act. While there may be a desire to engage in further discussion with comments, the board cannot do that at this time. Although this may give the impression we are not being responsive, these procedures are critical to ensure the compliance with the Open Meetings Act and to avoid compromising the speaker's goals or the board's mission. In addition, if there is a speaker before you who expresses thoughts that are extremely similar to you, please feel free to verbally agree with them with the microphone. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make public comment today? Can you just raise your hand? Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item number 4 is discussion and possible approval of the board meeting minutes from the February 28th, 2025 meeting.
Move to adopt the minutes with any technical non-substantive amendments.
Second.
Thank you. Any other board comment? Any public comment on agenda item number 4? This is discussion and possible approval of the board meeting minutes from the February 2025 meeting. Thank you. Back to the board. Ms. Mencia, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Tate,
Aye.
Rogers, Kasuga,
Aye.
Cervantes,
Aye.
Fu,
Aye.
Harpsheets, Nystrom. Aye. Phillips,
Aye.
Biscotted. Aye. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Agenda item number 5 is discussion on possible approval of the board meeting minutes from the April 17th, 2025 meeting. Board comment?
I'd like to move that we adopt those meeting minutes with any editorial changes we make prior to the vote.
And I'll second.
Now you guys flipped it on me this time. Thank you. Any public comment for agenda item number 5? Discussion on possible approval of the board meeting minutes from the April 17th, 2025 meeting. Okay, back to the board. Ms. Mencia, can you please call for the roll?
Yes. Tate,
Aye.
Rogers, Kasuga,
Aye.
Cervantes,
Aye.
Fu,
Aye.
Harpsheets, Nystrom. Aye. Phillips,
Aye.
Biscotted. The motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6 is the president's report. All of the upcoming board meetings and committee meetings are listed on the board's website. Our next board meeting is on August 22nd, 2025, and this will be in the sunny city of San Diego. Any board comment regarding our meeting calendar, upcoming meetings? Thank you. Any public comment regarding the president's report, the meeting calendar? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7. This is the executive officer's report. Mr. Burke, please.
Thank you very much, President Tate. The Executive Officer's report includes a personnel update. We currently have 2 vacancies with the board, the Assistant Executive Officer vacancy and the Board Liaison vacancy. Applications have posted for both and been received and closed, and interviews and the applications are being reviewed and interviews are being scheduled. We also have, I was going to talk about this in the enforcement report, but I'll mention it now. Sorry, can you hear me?
Moving it forward for you.
Thank you. There are a number of 2 staff who are currently on medical leave. So those aren't vacancies, but they are currently temporarily vacated. The other update I wanted to provide is outreach. On March 20th, 2025, we sent 2 staff members to the careers fair at the Natomas High School in Sacramento. On May the 3rd, 2 staff members attended the Los Angeles County Psychological Association meeting in Los Angeles. And we're delighted with the response we got, the number of questions we received regarding CPD, licensing, etc. And it's a meeting we hope to, if we're so invited again, to be able to attend in future now that our fund can sustain sending staff to these events. And on a similar note, in September of 2025, staff will attend the CPA annual convention in Long Beach, California. And in October 2025, we have submitted an out-of-state travel request for the executive officer and the vice president to attend the ASPPB annual meeting in St. Louis, Missouri. Attendance will allow for California to provide input and vote on proposed revisions to the ASPPB bylaws and potentially the combined EPPP examination. That request has to be approved by the Governor's Office, but it has been submitted and we are hopeful that we will be able to attend. That concludes the Executive Officer's report. Are there any questions?
Any board questions for Mr. Burke? Any public comment on this agenda item? Please come forward and have a seat. Thank you, Mr. Burke. On the agenda, we have a DCA update for agenda item number 8, and we do not have a DCA representative at this time at this meeting. The update is included in the agenda materials, and it's an information only item. Mr. Burke, go ahead.
That's correct. DCA they don't currently have they have several vacancies in the board and bureau relations area, and so they are. It is unfortunate they were unable to attend, and they send their apologies. The information it relates to the government reorganization plan, the hybrid telework transition, the return to office executive order. We have a new compliance and equity officer at DCA, his name's Levi Hull. There is a board member orientation training on June the 18th, 2025. Board members are required to take that training within a year of appointment and reappointment. And it is also Public Service Recognition Week. So DCA want to send their regards and thanks to all of you, the board members, for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any board comment?
Just adding on to Mr. Burke's.
Sorry.
Oh, it's not me.
This is
Good.
on. No, this is on.
Yeah, you can't.
It's always going to.
Oh, it's always
It's
on.
a hot mic.
Oh, it's hot. Okay. Be careful.
Yes.
We're all ready for America's Funniest Home Videos today.
So just a quick addition to what Mr. Burke said, which is the proposed reorganization plan of the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency. The main split will be between establishing a housing and homelessness agency and then the Business Consumer Services side, which the board belongs to. And I would be curious if, and perhaps this is more a question during our legislative updates, but I'm curious if the department has taken a position on that budget proposal. I'm assuming that it probably wouldn't be in contradiction to our agency secretary, but I'm curious to understand if there are further discussions on that.
May I answer that during the legislative discussion?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Any other board comment? Any public comment on this agenda item? This is the DCA update with no DCA representative. If you do have a comment, please come forward and have a seat. Thank you. Moving on. Oh.
Was able to attend also.
Oh, of course. We're going to move on to the enforcement report. Mr. Burke, please.
The enforcement report is informational only. Those items are included in the board meeting materials. You can find an overview of the attached enforcement activity. It conveys complaint investigation and discipline statistics for the current fiscal year. And all the information is provided in the materials. If there are any questions, I can answer them now.
Any board comment on the enforcement report? Any public comment on the enforcement report? Again, this is an informational only item. If you do have a comment, please come forward and have a seat. Thank you. Budget report, this is agenda item number 10. Mr. Polk, please.
Thank you. Included in the meeting materials is the various budget reports that were provided by the budget office. The report concluded that as of fiscal month 9 of the 2024-2025 fiscal year, the board projects collecting $9.126 million in revenue. As for expenditures for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, based on the same fiscal month 9, The board is projected to spend approximately $7.32 million of its budgeted appropriation of $7.78 million, leaving a balance of approximately $460,000. Board staff is continuing to monitor revenue and expenditures with the budget office monthly. This item is an informational item, and that concludes the budget report and open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. Any board comment regarding this agenda item? Any public comment regarding this agenda item? And again, this is the budget report. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Polk. We're moving on to agenda item number 11, the licensing report. Ms. Chung.
Good morning, board members. As of April 16, 2025, we have 23,512 licensed psychologists, 1846 registered psychological associates, 90 registered psychological testing technicians, and 72 research psychoanalysts, and 23 student research psychoanalysts. It includes 20,850 current psychologists and 948 psychologists who are in inactive status. There is one psychologist who is actively serving the military and permitted to provide psychological practice in a military setting, and 2 others who are also actively serving the military but not permitted to provide psychological practice. We also have 11 licensed psychologists who are now in retired status. Among our 1846 registered psychological associates, 30 of them are in inactive status since the regulations allow them to request such status at the beginning of this year. And you may find more details in Attachment A, the Licensing Population Report. And this report provides a snapshot of the number of psychologists and psychological associates and other license categories in each status at the time the report was generated. And by comparing to the last report made at the February board meeting, the number of psychologists who hold a current license increased by 79. The number of current psychological associates decreased by 29. We have 57 more psychologists in the retired status and 9 more psychological testing technicians. In Attachment B, you will find the workload reports for psychologist license, psychological associate registration, and psychological testing technician registration applications from October 2024 through March 2025. Regarding research and research psychoanalysts, we did receive 1 application for student research psychoanalysts in April. We received less application in the last several months, and that allows staff to catch up and continue to approve complete applications for our applicants. In Attachment C, the numbers of the applications and notifications received are provided for a 12-month period from April 2024 through March 2025. The total number of all applications and notifications has decreased by about 49, but the trend is comparable to the same 12-month period as reported in 2023-2024 year. And we're expecting an uptick in the application volume in the next couple of months as we are getting into the seasonality of a graduating season. About the average application processing timeframes, the board reviews and processes applications based on a first-come, first-served basis. This includes but not limited to all applications, supporting materials, and responses to application deficiency. All these are reviewed according to the day that they are received. We provided a 6-month overview of these average processing timeframes in business days in Attachment D. Regarding psychologist applications, we have improved on the average processing time frame since we reported out at the last board meeting. On average, we are providing our initial review outcome for each step of the application process within 2 weeks. And for psychological associate and psychological testing technician registration applications, we are maintaining the time frames since our report at the February board meeting. Staff, as I mentioned a little earlier, we anticipated an increase in processing timeframes of an additional probably 2 to 3 weeks in the coming months, just based on previous trends of incoming applications during similar periods. Though the increase in processing time frame is shorter than expected right now. Staff continues to recommend to individuals who are interested to apply to the board for registration or eligibility to take an examination, really review for completeness on the application prior to submission, because that's like the number one processing delay cause is deficiencies. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all licensing staff for their diligence and dedication in maintaining our processing timeframes. And that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chung. I know you've been working hard in that department. Any board comment? Oh, Dr. Kasuga,
Ms. Chung, thanks for your report.
pull your microphone a little bit. Yeah.
Thanks for your report. I'm just curious about the seasonality of applications. Do we do anything special with regards anticipating the seasonality of applications to make sure that that we're able to handle the increase during that time, or maybe distribute like tasks? When, I'm just curious, like how we handle the seasonality and what adjustments we make.
Thank you for the question. So currently we still have only 4 licensing. Our staffing hasn't increased. So what we do is really trying to be creative and be outside the box. So we really keep an eye on the incoming volume. Since we have the licensing technicians helping out with acknowledgement and handling each piece of incoming application materials, so we can have a better gauge of the amount coming in. So then we could distribute, based according to the volume. Because if it's like not, able to process as usual, we're trying to ask staff who are able to maybe do overtime if they're able, so then we can kind of keep the application timeframes in check. Okay. But yeah, that's what we could do right now. We hope to do more in the future. Should we have more positions? Absolutely. It's always on our mind.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Phipps?
Ms. Chung, since we have a captive audience both online and here, I'm curious to understand what are some common deficiencies in the applications with regard to supporting documents that might lengthen an application, that might lengthen the process for a prospective applicant?
Right. Thank you for the questions. So we have a checklist online, posted online, kind of to try. The goal is to help people to, just make sure you have all these items submitted before you send the packet to the board. So sometimes would be one of those items that are not necessary, or when fees are not paid, because we won't be able to assign the in-application without the fee. So that's would cause delay and confusion. Oh, I submitted my application that day, but how come it's not being assigned? I haven't heard anything. And some of the times would be missing responses on application, because that really puts them back, because if everything is there but they are not providing the responses that would help us to process the applications, we cannot move forward. And then it will be one of the common deficiencies as well.
And a follow-up question is, typically the anxiety about the length of application, the timeline. I mean, I think I just want to emphasize that you just shared that you're expecting the application timeline, the waiting time to increase to about, can you repeat again how many days or how many weeks?
We're thinking about 2 to 3 weeks, but that's just a guesstimate, because that time frames always vary based on the volume and quality of applications that we received.
Right. So I think I'm hearing then an emphasis for folks to get their materials in a timely manner with quality, with going through that checklist with patience and also making sure they have everything in expectation that the timeline will increase.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Fu. Any other board comment for Ms. Chung? Is there any public comment on this agenda item? This is the licensing report. If you do have a comment, please come forward and have a seat. Thank you, Ms. Chung, but you're not going too far. Agenda item number 12, this is the examination report.
Thank you, Board President. Board members, please find the examination statistics from January to March 2025 on the memo. First off, about EPPP, the overall pass rate in 2025 so far is about 39%, and the overall pass rate among candidates who take the exam for the first time is about 62%. By comparing the pass rates to previous 4 years, we can see that the pass rates in January and March 2025 are higher than previous years, but the pass rate in February is lower than previous years. About CAPLE, the overall pass rate is about 76%, and the overall pass rate for first-timers is about 77%. And when we compare the pass rate to previous 4 years, the pass rates in January and March are lower than the last 2 years. And there's also a new piece of information as a follow-up item to the 2024 November board meeting. The board asked how our EPPP pass rates compared with those in other jurisdictions. So we reached out to ASBBB about the statistics for the monthly overall and first-time takers pass rates in 2024. And thank you, ASBBB, for providing us with that data. Based on the data received, staff made several charts to kind of visualize the data so then it's more easily understand. In the bar graph in attachment A, it shows the overall pass rates percentages by month. The percentages for California candidates are shown in blue bars, and that for the other jurisdiction are in orange bars. The average overall pass rate for test takers under California jurisdiction was lower at 37% compared to 56% in all other jurisdictions. And in attachment B, the bar graph shows the first-time pass rate percentages by month. Data for California is in blue, and the other is in orange. The percentage differences here are closer than those in the overall pass rates, with the average pass rates for first-time test takers in California at 58% compared to 69% in all other jurisdictions. In attachment C, the bar graph shows the repeat test taker pass rate percentages by month as well. The average pass rates for repeat takers in California was at 21% compared to 34% in all other jurisdictions. And staff also curious about the composition of first-time takers and repeat takers. So in attachment D, you'll find that it shows the monthly percentages for the number of first-time takers. On average, 42% of exam candidates under California jurisdiction were first-timer, compared to 63% in other jurisdictions. And in attachment E, the graph shows the monthly percentages for the number of repeat takers. And on average, 58% of exam candidates under California jurisdiction were repeat takers compared to 37% in other jurisdictions. So that is the data that we received and visualized. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chung. Any board comment? Dr. Harpsheets?
So one of the things I learned recently, and you probably know this, Ms. Chung, but it's interesting for the board to know
Can you
that.
pull your microphone a bit closer? The whole.
So something I learned more recently, and it's an interesting fact, that some states only allow people to take the exam a limited number of times. So that might be contributing to some of these numbers.
Any other board comment? Dr. Phillips?
This may be asking too much, Ms. Chung, but is there an explanation as to why California test takers do, on average, worse with the EPPP?
Anything I said would be speculations, but we were glad to have OPS gave us a presentation last year, kind of talk about the pass rate trend, and it could also contribute to our statutory requirements previously, because in the past it has always been very liberal to allow just the field specializations were not really specified until most recent years. So maybe that could be a contributing factor. But for sure, to pinpoint the exact factor, staff don't have that answer.
Thank you.
Dr. Masuka?
It's just interesting to kind of like think about factors. And I'm wondering how much of it is the large size of our states. So some of the other jurisdictions have smaller. So if there's like 4 people and they're all pass and it's like 100% pass rate versus like, like we have such a large and very diverse test takers. So I'm not sure we're able to read too much into these, and I'm wondering if ASBBB have other information that they can provide with regards some of like the factors that play into the difference between California and other jurisdictions aside from what was presented previously by OPES. In particular, I'm curious if the content of the ABBB seems to be a factor of the disparity. I mean, it's been a while since I've taken the ABBB, and I know it's just my personal experience, but like some of the stuff that were being asked on the ABBB are completely different, and I had to use like test material reviewers from different states to kind of like fill in the missing information that is not readily available to me from just attending school here. So it's just like I think there's just a lot of variables that are not necessarily have to do with just the quality of the California test takers.
Well,
Oh,
go ahead. Well, Ms. Chung mentioned earlier about the specificity of the.
Dr. Sheets, you got to move the
Oh,
microphone.
yeah, sorry. So Ms. Chung mentioned earlier about the specificity of the degrees to qualify for licensure in California. And it used to be just a doctoral degree in psychology. And now it's much more focused on basically looking at clinical counseling. So perhaps that provides better preparation for the EPPP, but that's relatively recent. And we still have a lot of people who are taking the exam multiple times. And so it is what the OPES information that we received was the more people take it, the less chance they have of passing.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing those people pulling the numbers down. I think that's a piece of it.
I was curious, Ms. Chung, you may not know the answer to this question, but are the percentage of test takers that are coming from non-APA accredited programs greater in California than they are in other states?
Yes.
We have, I think the proportion from the presentation last time was like we have relatively more non-APA accredited program graduates taking the exam in California.
And that's not to suggest, by the way, that you can't get a quality education in a non-APA accredited program, but just curious if that's one of the factors that are in play. I also think, in my experience as a graduate school instructor, it seems like a lot of the graduate programs are casting their net wider and being less selective about the students that they take in. I think that's reflected in some of the fall off in scores for particular programs. So I think some of this may relate back to particular academic programs too, and who they're admitting to the programs.
And that was going to be my comment, is in that OPS presentation, there definitely was a huge difference between certain institutions and others. So that was very clear. Any other board comment for Ms. Chung?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Fu.
Just one more resource sharing, which is the ASPPB does post a passage rate of EPPP relative to doctoral programs in psychology, and they posted their 2024 list as well. So I think for folks who are interested in seeing how the doctoral programs compare against each other relative to passage rates, we're not suggesting any causation, we're just showing information. But I think it's an interesting thing to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Fu. Any other board comment? Thank you. I'd like to open up this agenda item for public comment. If you do have a comment, please come forward and have a seat in front of a microphone. Thank you, Ms. Chung. Appreciate you. Moving on to the continuing professional development and renewals report. This is agenda item 13, and we are looking for Mr. Polk. Just a moment.
I apologize. My laptop is not plugged in. It dies on me right away. So
Not a problem.
thank you. Included in the meeting materials are the reports for continuing professional development and renewals. Attachment A shows the percentage of renewals that were submitted online versus mailed in. The first quarter of 2025, 94% of renewals were submitted online, with 6% of renewals mailed in. Attachment B shows the percentage of types of renewals processed. In the first quarter of 2025, an average of 82% of psychologists renewed as active, with approximately 7% of psychologists renewing as inactive. The retirements count for approximately 2%. Psychological associates accounted for, on average, 9% of the monthly renewal applications. Attachment C is the breakdown for the continuing education audits from June of 2023 to January 2024. For that time period, the average pass rate stands at 89%, with an average of 5% of audits that failed after full review of all documents submitted. The average of 22% reflects audits that are deficient, which includes audits that are pending submission of requested documents for further requested information. As you're aware, audits were put on hold due to the staffing of the CPD coordinator vacancy. With the vacancy, no audits were conducted after January of 2024. However, staff has continued to review documentation that was submitted for those audits and get those audits completed. Audits for the months of January and February of 2025 were conducted and are reflected in attachment D. At the time of these materials were completed, the pass rate stood at 26%, with 74% of those audits that were not received at that time. Currently, as of now, the pass rate for January and February stands at 47%, and that is after the first initial review. And so there's a pending of 53% ones that are still pending for January and February. Licensees for March audits have been selected, and notices will be going out next week. And staff is currently working on selecting licensees for the April audits. Lastly, attachment E is a chart that reflects the common activities that are used to complete the CPD requirements. The information provided was determined by using the audits from January and February of 2025 that passed. The two most commonly used activities were sponsored continuing education and peer consultation, followed by supervision and self-directed learning, and then attendance at a California board or committee meeting. Previously, at the February board meeting, it was requested that a chart be shown of the common reasons why CPD audits have failed. However, for the recent audits, there has not been any failures at this time. So the pie chart reflects the common activities that are used to pass CPD requirements. So staff will continue to monitor audits as they're conducted and completed, and staff will continue to provide updates on common trends at future board meetings. That includes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. Any board comment? Dr. Kasuga.
Thanks for your report, Mr. Polk. I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm pleased to see the attendance at the California Board of Psychology meeting as part of the pie chart, and I hope to see it more and more in the future.
Any other board comment?
Oh, I was just gonna say that category includes all
Microphone.
committee meetings.
Matt?
Yes, board and committee meetings. Yes.
Okay, Mary, don't forget your microphone. They can't. Oh, yeah.
That includes board and committee meetings.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Thanks, Dr. Herbsheets. Any other board comment? Thank you. I'd like to open this up for public comment on this agenda item. If you do have a public comment, please come forward and have a seat in front of a microphone. This is for agenda item 13, continuing professional development and renewals report. Thank you. Oh, please come forward. Yes, please, and pull that microphone close so we can hear. Looks like it's a tight fit up there.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Ward Ashman. So I hope I'm speaking at the right time because I've been a little confused. My licensing process comes up at the end of this month. And I'm looking at the peer review and I'm a little confused about who is actually a peer. Was this the right time to ask that question?
Sure.
You can ask that question.
Yeah,
And
so
Mr.
is
Polk
it
can answer.
another fellow licensed person, or is it a person who has a background, who is actually a PhD in psychology?
Go ahead,
Yes,
Mr.
correct.
Polk.
Yeah. So for peer review, it would be a fellow colleague, another licensee. I know it also could be another fellow mental health professional, licensed for mental health professional, but also count as a peer. So as long as the journal, or if you're doing peer consultation, if you're reading a peer reviewed journal, as long as it's reviewed by someone who is a licensed mental health professional, whether psychologist, psychiatrist, licensed social worker, all those would count as peer review.
Okay, so the license actually is required versus the PhD in psychology.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate your question. Thank you. Any other further public comment for Mr. Polk's report? Thank you, Mr. Polk. Appreciate it. So we are going to agenda hop a little bit. We're going to take up item number 19. We have Dr. Song from ASPPB who is here, and we are going to be sensitive to Dr. Song's flight schedule. So this number 19 is the update and discussion on the development on the integrated examination for professional practice in psychology. Welcome, Dr. Song.
Thank you.
No, which one? I could just.
Carry 19, item 19. It's not in the like action, it's in the.
Thank you. Thank you.
That. Where she's my business. So chair.
Right, I think.
Oh.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Tate and Mr. Burke, to invite me here. I'm so glad I can come to Great California and be with you and update you about the development for the EAAA. Okay, so I'm Hao Shang. I'm the Associate Executive Officer of Examination Services for ASPBB. Okay, so the EAAA, EAAA has been this year is 60 years since 1965, and it's always evolving. Okay, and in the past 20, 30 years, we all reached that agreement for the profession of a psychologist to measure competence more than just foundational knowledge. And until last year, ASPBB was its 66 jurisdictions, including new. We've been working towards deliver EAAA in two parts. One part focused more on knowledge, the other more on skills. But as we getting closer to the full implementation, originally was in January 2026, increasing concern about the impact of administer EAAA in two parts. So October last year, ASPBB Board of Directors decided to move towards to integrate these two parts in one exam. Okay, so as kind of the exam, like the computer, you have so many kind of components in it to make it work. So that's the some of the activities, the item writing and the refinement. And every year we need to produce and have kind of a review or set for at least 600 questions, and then every questions in order to kind of have the good quality, they are all pre-tested before they are operational use. Operational use, I mean those questions are included in the school, part of the school. And every year we have two new brand new forms. And also after every administration, we check kind of the statistics to make sure those questions are as good as we expect them to be. And also we have an independent review committee consist of people with experience from for diverse group of people to review those questions to make sure the content do very fair to people from different cultural or ethnicity or whatever language backgrounds. And also the cut score are set also by psychologists. Kind of these are the criteria standard, not kind of norm. Every year we passed 60 or 80 or 90% people. It's a sample independent criterion. You meet the standard. You can have a 100% or you can have a low percent. Depends on whether people meet those standard. And also the job task analysis. So I'm going to talk about that later on. Update you about that. That is the foundation for the exam. What to test, how much. Those are decided by the psychologist through this systematic process called job task analysis. So we do have a lot of volunteers. I saw some here in the audience. We really appreciate your help to make sure we are doing the work right. Okay, so the new kind of I'm going to show you the roadmap. We still call it EPPP. The name will not change. You might hear kind of reimagined or the integrated or a new EPPP, but the name will continue to be the EPPP. And this exam going to be taken in one setting. And as I said, assess competence, include both knowledge and skills, and maintain the higher professional industrial standards in test development, quality control, all these existing checks and the modification process will be part of that. And in order to have that up into 3 years, we do have a lot of work to do. And those I'm going to talk those two arms, technical and communication arm. So this is the roadmap from now through 27. So the narrow blue bar shows that's the existing EPPP Part 1 and Part 2 are continuing. So we do support people, most kind of all 66 jurisdictions using Part 1. Some jurisdictions still using Part 2. So we support that. And the two arms are those, and the milestones are those big kind of a box on this graph. So from 25 to 26 and 27, that's the large kind of timeline and the plan. So 25 right now, I'm going to explain in the next couple of slides, and to do the JTA, that's the technical part arm. And also we have formed a collaborative implementation task force. That's the communication and feedback seeking and incorporation part. And then 26 going to be publication of the new exam blueprint. So we will spend a year to let people adjust to that new specification. And also we also need time to kind of recode the questions into our bank to the new blueprint, so we can assemble exams to the new blueprint. So that's next year. And then in 27, we are going to have a beta testing time period for the first 3 quarters. So we will seek your help to kind of recruit volunteers to take the beta test, and also use their results to kind of set the performance standard, and also get more questions to be used in the operational. So hopefully our plan is, in terms of the operation, will be the same as now. Like the exam will run year around. You can register to take the exam year around, not by window. So the most convenient way. And also after the exam, you will know whether you pass or not. Okay. So I'm going to talk about that CITF. Okay, so the CITF, as I said, it's formed this year in January. And also the call was sent out last year. So it included a lot of delegate members from jurisdictions. And they will help gather jurisdictional and other stakeholders' input and feedback on kind of the EPPP. And also going to have, we already have one town hall meetings. We plan to have quarterly town hall meetings this year, and also some survey and focus group to collect stakeholders' input about the development of the new legislation EPPP. And these task force also going to advise ASBBB board of directors on key considerations, kind of in order to make this this exam kind of as good as the part one you are all using now. And as I said, this is the communication arm. They are not they are not charged with the technical activities. Okay, so as I said, they will the CITF they meet monthly, virtually. They plan to meet one time later this year in person, and they help kind of facilitate the town hall meeting. We had one in April, and they will have all these feedback from survey from focus group into the town hall meetings to make the town hall meetings. The first town hall meeting was mainly the membership boards, but the later 3 town hall meetings, the next one probably in June, will be more open to the public. And so the general theme is people do feel that one exam administered at one time point in one day seems reasonable. And also we want to kind of provide the best kind of user experience support our member boards to kind of protect the public and also help the profession. So the next arm is the technical arm. I'm going to talk about the JTA and what the progress has been made. So the JTA job task analysis, that, as I said, it's a kind of the foundation for the validity of any assessment program. It is a systematic and documented process to obtain information about the professional competence for any profession from those people already licensed and for those people to be licensed, right? So every assessment program will or do have JTA periodically at a kind of some can be more shorter, depends on the profession. If they change more frequently, they may do it more frequently. But every assessment program do it periodically to ensure the content measured reflect the practice. So for this JTA task force, we sent out a call last September, and we received over 110 respondents, and we selected 20 people out of that to invite to serve on this task force. Probably we end up having 18 accepted the invitation. So the first, the JTA going to be a series of activities. They will meet in person next month in our office in Tehran, Georgia, for 4 days, and to review the current blueprint 1 and 2, and then convert the fully integrated. I'm going to explain in the next couple of slides to show you some initial work, and then convert them into survey questions. So that will be sent out to all practicing psychologists for them to rate about those kind of knowledge skills how critical, how important, relevant, and also how often they use in their practice. So this is a very important work. And then after receiving those, we will convert them into kind of a the new blueprint distribution. That's our the next steps after initial survey, and they will analyze the survey responses and then update the create the new exam blueprint, and then also maybe have a focus group to finalize that to make it a one document, and so people can use. We are going to have publicize, either published, definitely published on the candidate handbook on ASVPB website. We also hope to publish in journal so people can have wide access to that. So these are the possible structure for the integrated EPPP with both parts. It's going to be a 3-level. The first level is the six content domains, the large 6 content domains. Those are pretty kind of it's on the current part 1 and part 2. So we just keep these 6 large content domains. And then the next one, under each of this 6 domain, we identify some competencies. So that competence can be like a knowledge competence or a skills competence. So those are the runs 4 to 8 competencies within each domain. So for example, the assessment is an important domain for psychologists or psychological practice, including associates those. So assessment. Under assessment, you have we list out 4 competencies, A, B, C, D, right? And then the third level is the detailed knowledge or skills within each competence. So it will be a nested 3-tier structure to fully integrate knowledge and skills together. It's not just append knowledge to skills. It's going to be fully integrated together. So as an example, you can see under assessment 2A, demonstrate knowledge of psychometrics. That's the 2A, right? Test construction principles, assessment methods. So they identified these 5 important skills or knowledge points to support this specific competence. And then the next one is the next one is under assessment 2C, administer sport, interpret instrument that adhering to the current guideline or research. That's competence 2C. And under this competence, we also identified 3 kind of a specific knowledge or skill points. So these are just some a little glimpse of the possible integrated EPPP blueprint, because we have an advisory committee, JTA advisory committee. Those people who are the current item development or exam committee chairs, they do know the exam very, very well. So they know the part 1, part 2 very well. So they met several times in the past several months to come up with this plan. They will present this plan to the task force next month to let them review. And this task force, given they are kind of internationally called, both US and Canada, so they may not be that familiar as this advisory committee. So advisory committee kind of help do some kind of prep work for them. So I just want to give you a heads up about the possible future blueprint look like. So the task force will review their proposed structure and adding, subtracting, and convert these kind of three-tiered into survey questions, and then send that out to all practicing psychologists for them to answer. So hopefully you will help us to spread the word, and so people can provide the input. So we will make those into the part of the development of the new blueprint. So to make it more concrete, this is one current practice exam question. So we just look at this question to see whether this question can be kind of viewed in this new blueprint through this lens, right? So this is a question asking about personality assessment inventory, and then three options, and the correct answer is the first one. It also has a figure, kind of the assessment profile. And so this question can kind of so mine is a little different. We'll go to the next one. Go to the next one. Okay, so this is the full scale profile. Okay, next one. Okay, so yeah, try to using the integrated here blueprints to classify this question. So this question belongs to the assessment, which has the all three kind of 3 out of the 4 competencies, and the sum of the specific kind of knowledge or skills bullet underneath the competencies, and also it required knowledge of the PAI test, and also the scale meanings, and also the valid and the invalid scores. So you can see, we do have questions can be applied to into this new integrated 3-tier blueprint. Okay, next one. So we do have, as I said, some resources like right here. Ms. Chang mentioned those results. Mr. Fu mentioned those doctor report by different doctor. Different programs, right? And these are one thing I do want to make sure you know, that's the candidate handbook. So there's a barcode you can scan and access that. The next one, so in the current blueprint, we do kind of tell people what's on part 1, what's on part 2, and also include sample questions. So those are definitely, if students are preparing for exam, that they are required to read. And that's the most kind of relevant information for them to prepare, in addition to use other test prep materials. Okay, and next one. So as I said, we are very committed to you through continued communication, all these different outlet to survey, town halls, or routine communications. So we just had our mid-year meeting 2 weeks ago, and we are going to have our annual meeting later in October. And also, we are welcome you to reach out to us and also try to provide as much materials as we can. So we can work together. So both the technical development and also we want to know your experience and your feedback. So we do have a designated email address for people to provide any feedback or ask any question. And something for you to keep eye on are the we are going to send out survey. Although I don't think any of your board staff are part of the CIPF, but we are going to send out to every 66 jurisdictions. So look out for that, and also the town hall meeting next one going to be in June. We'll send out an announcement for that, and also the JTA survey I just mentioned, and also always welcome you to be involved in exam activities as item writer, item reviewers, independent review for fairness or relevance, or other technical advisory. We have a lot of kind of 13 different committees. So you are always welcome to be involved. So here's some of your contributions, people from California. So you deeply involved in every activities. So from part 1, part 2, previous JTA, the upcoming JTA, and previous standard setting. So you are deeply involved, and also Dr. Jackie Huang, she originally planned to call in. She's our long-term committee member, and also she's involved in the JTA in the past, and also this time as a JTA advisory committee member to come up with this very creative kind of 3-tier structure. So really appreciate this opportunity. Any questions?
Thank you for spending time with us this morning, Dr. Song.
Sure.
I'm going to open it up to the board for questions or comments. Dr. Kasuga?
Thank you, Dr. Song. I'm just curious with regards to the selection of the 18, well, basically the 20 and then the 18 that accepted the JTA task force. What was the selection process for that, and how did you account for diversity of practice, assessment, and therapy, and different psychology fields, subfields, as well as diversity of membership from different jurisdictions? And is it proportional to the size of the jurisdictions, and also diversity of cultural backgrounds?
That's a very good question. In our call for volunteers, we do have a survey. We ask people to provide all these backgrounds. So their practice setting, their jurisdiction, there's kind of other demographic background. So all these are in part of the call for volunteers. They need to provide answers to those questions. Then we kind of select people to make sure they're not just from one jurisdiction or from one practice areas or one kind of specialty or those things. So we do have a survey to ask them to fill in when they respond to our call. So those are based on that. The selection are based on that.
Is it possible to kind of like see the percentages of those different aspects of, not identifiable, just like, the 18 people that are participating in the GTA?
Sure. Yeah, those are in the previous kind of a JTA report. We do, in order to make sure these, as I said, this is the foundation for validity. We do want to make sure this group and also the survey responses, we want to kind of make sure the sample also covered that. So the results are generalizable.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dr. Phillips?
Thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to emphasize an issue, and maybe you can expand on it. And that is that there was quite a bit of controversy about validity measures for the original EPPP2. And I just wanted to remind people, I suppose, that validity for a licensing examination is measured in a very different way than for a psychometric assessment instrument. So perhaps you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, that's very, very great point. Because licensure, like the driver's license, you need to make sure people know the kind of a basic driving skills and also the road rules. But you cannot predict whether this person will have any car accident or not down the road, right? That's exactly the license exam. It's different from psychological testing. As Dr. Phillips said, we are not predicting this person do have this kind of psychological issues. We just want to make sure people reach that threshold to enter into the practice. Whether this person in the future have any kind of discipline actions, that's not what the EPPP or the licensure exam is for. So licensure exam is the content validity. That's what we really kind of hold up to. It's not predictive validity. It's not predict this person has any psychological issues. These are two different assessments in the joint standard. APA, American Psychological Association, AERA, American Educational Research Association, and the National Council on Assessment in Education. These are the three big, largest kind of a testing profession or the professionals. They have their standard, educational and psychological testing standard. They publish every kind of 10, 15 years. So you know how much work they need to do to update that. So the current one is 2014. They do have a separate chapter. These are two separate chapters. Professional assessment is different from a psychological testing. So definitely, yeah, you're right. So ASPPB hold kind of, we check that all the time to make sure our content by all these work I just talked a little bit, like the JTA and all these large involvement of psychologists from all different backgrounds. That's what we do to kind of have the validity of EPPP. Not we cannot make sure people will never have any kind of a patient compliance, client compliance, or those things.
So having so many people involved is a way of getting the content validity, as part of the process of getting content validity. There are standards that apply particularly to licensing examinations. And I think you made reference to those standards. What's the name of those standards?
The standard, the book is Educational Psychological Testing Standard. The current version edition is 2014, so I can send that to the board. So that's the kind of highest kind of professional testing standard we refer to.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Dr. Harpsheets,
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So,
you have to move that microphone.
microphone, I always forget, sorry. You know, this board has been very committed to eliminating barriers to licensure, and I'm sure you know, all states really have difficulty getting enough mental health professionals to fill the need. And so I attended the town hall meeting, and a couple questions I have that came out of that I think are really worth discussing within this board. And you had mentioned that you saw this test as to be taken just when people are really ready to be licensed, that they finish their internships, that kind of thing. And we have been looking at and working on allowing people to take the EPPP right after they finish their coursework. So could you speak to that a little bit? Where are you all at with that idea? And are you seeing this as states can make their own decisions versus how the ASPPB sees it? Tell us a little bit more.
That's a very good question. That's a eligibility question. So in the upcoming JTA, one question this task force will talk is the eligibility, whether they are eligible at the completion of the doctoral program with their degree, also with the internship, or right after they finish the coursework, right? So this definitely is a question we need to talk to make sure people are ready, right? As you said, I remember you mentioned your board used to ask whether people can take one right after coursework.
Yes,
Yeah, and then two maybe after completion, of the.
But we were dealing with just current exam, assuming
Yeah.
it was one exam.
The current exam. So I would think because we do try to understand people's different performance. One factor is the time they take the exam, whether they take it right after the degree, kind of one knowledge and the things are still pretty fresh. We did see they have some advantage. The closeness with the time of finish and time to take the exam. Usually we see a better performance. But to answer your question, whether these candidates can take just to finish the coursework without even having internship for the integrated exam with both knowledge and skills, I'm not sure that's the best time for them to take the exam.
So are you thinking that ASPPB? What happened? The green light's still on. That ASPPB.
It's always gonna be.
I'll just keep asking. Are you thinking that ASPPB will set the rule for that, or do you see it as allowing the states to make that decision?
That's a very good question because as an assessment, we do eligibility. It's also part of the kind of like the user manual, right? You have to let people know what's the prerequisite for you to kind of best use the exam. So we definitely going to discuss that and also provide a recommendation. But whether each jurisdiction has some flexibility in terms of using EPPP, I think that's a very good feedback as the communication part. So we do want to kind of you to share this with us, but it's going to be a process to decide that. But as in terms of the user manual perspective, we will provide kind of a recommendation saying these are the kind of people eligible to take it. But whether you have some flexibility to give it or like our passing standard, we do establish that standard through kind of the follow the testing standards. So we can defend that. But if we're so glad every jurisdiction kind of use our 500, the ASPPB recommended standard for independent practice. But we also established the 450 for supervised practice. I did see some variations, some jurisdiction continue, like Canadian provinces, they use 500 because they said their master's students are entering into practice in some province. So they use 500, but some use 450, some use 425, some use 400. So yeah, you do have some flexibility. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Thanks
bring
for
this
that.
feedback to us.
Yeah, okay. I have two more questions. You mentioned in the town hall meeting that because of the additional work on the part of the ASPPB to develop this test, that there would be a cost increase to take it, as well as, since it would be a longer test, the Pearson VUE cost would increase. And that's another barrier to licensure that we're concerned about, particularly when people are taking it more than once. And so I wonder if you could speak to that for our board, what your thoughts were. Maybe you have some more information now about what we might be looking at.
In terms of the test lengths and the fees, those are going to be decided kind of through all these close interaction with the stakeholders, including your board. If this integrated exam will be more than currently it's 4.5 hours. Each part is 1.5 hours. So as you just mentioned, if it become 6-hour exam, I don't know. It will be decided after the JTA how much content, and to reach that, we need to have so many questions to reach that reliability. There's some both statistics and also kind of policy together decide how long the exam will be. But I'm sure it will be one day, one session for regular takers. For accommodation, that's a different story. But in terms of test lengths, that will be discussed down the road, and also the fee. All these will be in consideration.
Okay, one more question. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so on the sample question that you had, and I looked at it and I thought, I don't see any information about the ethnicity of the test taker or the listing on the names of the scales, unless I just couldn't see. But I saw it at the town hall too. I was sitting close at my computer then. And I was looking at that and I thought, well, if I don't know like the validity of that test off the top of my head with different ethnic groups, and I don't know the ethnicity, let's say, or the racial makeup of that particular test taker, I'm not sure I could really answer that question accurately. So I just wondered what your thoughts were about that.
So you said this question need more background
It
information.
needed more information, I felt that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you all saw that, but
I'll second that. Typically, at least the way I was taught to do assessment, you needed clinical information about the client within which to interpret the test results. Because, for instance, if you go back to the MMPI, which is the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, if you have a spike on the paranoia scale, that means something different for an African-American male test taker than it would if we were looking at a middle-class white woman's test taker. So I think there probably needs to be a little bit of a description of the particular client so that they can feel confident in what they're saying.
yeah.
I also think that that maybe it would be better if it's like something about the interpretation of the results that can be applied across different personality tests, because then I think that's going to be a better gauge of someone's competency rather than familiarity with a PAI, which, you know, it varies across different like states or, you know, like schools. And I think that there are ways to kind of like get the same information about their ability to interpret the data with something that all personality tests share in common. So it's going to be more on their ability to interpret information on a personality test and not so specifically their, you know, familiarity with PAI. Because like what Dr. Harshis was saying, you know, not knowing certain information about the PAI might disadvantage a test taker.
About the exam itself, about the person that's provide, you know, that took the test. I think that's really critical.
That's good feedback because, I'm not a psychologist myself, but I know we have a kind of a item writing menu, and these are good feedback to say to provide to those item writers, saying provide more context and. But as a kind of I'm a psychometrician by training, so as I observe, because sometimes they try to keep the reading load light, so shorten the stem to kind of make sure people are not speeded. Right now, our exam definitely not speeded. People have more than enough time to answer the question, but. We do at some point, because I'm in this kind of professional, especially I used to work for medical boards before I come to ASPPB. We do have a kind of a sometimes one time every question has to be very clinic scenario. All these very detailed gender, age, ethnicity, all these very detailed clinic scenarios, then ask a question to make it kind of a more authentic, they said. But, and also at one time, we also saying, oh, that's become kind of a maybe biased against the non-native speakers because the reading load is very heavy. So yeah, how to balance that? But I really take your feedback very positively. So for those, especially in the future, more kind of we are competence based. So probably more clinic scenario questions in the exam on EPPP from 27, whether to kind of every scenario provide more, like this PAI, they are maybe raised different, those things provide more details.
Thank you, Dr. Sun.
Well, just to add to that, like I think it might be helpful to, instead of just like assuming that someone who's not a non-native speaker will be taxed with like kind of like more information with regards more clinical lengthy items, is to probably pilot it with some non-native speakers to try the test, because you know sometimes I think that would be more helpful in terms of making sure to strike that balance in terms of having more information but not really disadvantaging people that are non-native English speakers. And hopefully there's some of them in your GTA task force group as well. So either that or the pilot for the test would be helpful.
Definitely, we are going to kind of do a lot of user experience time, not just in beta. Maybe once the JTA is decided, we probably will start kind of put out some sample questions to let people provide feedback. Yeah. We do want to make sure people can demonstrate their competence rather than being distracted. Sometimes we do see for the good test takers, based on the statistic, if you provide too detailed information, they can overthink. So, yeah, so it's a lot of work.
Balance, right? A lot of balance.
Yes,
Right
but-
balance.
Go ahead, Mr. Phil.
Thank you, Dr. Song, for your presentation. In terms of the implementation timeline, will there be a transition period to accommodate for jurisdictions that have to update their regulatory guidelines? I ask that because while 2027 seems far away, it actually is a bit quick for some jurisdictions in terms of regulatory adoption. So I'm curious if there's a transition period where both EPPP Part, what is known as the EPPP Part 1, will be offered simultaneously with the new integrated exam that you've discussed.
Probably some overlap, especially if people already kind of scheduled pay the fee to take EPPP Part 1. So we probably want people finish that. But the reason I kind of presenting the roadmap now is to let people kind of let the jurisdiction start making all these legislative changes as quickly as now.
So that's helpful, and there's a larger policy conversation for this board to have about the implications of these changes. And I'm just mindful because I know Dr. Cervantes has been the conscience of the board when it comes to test taking, which is even with a two-year timeline. I know there are folks in their programs currently who are looking ahead and thinking that they might be taking one exam. And might be faced with a very different exam depending on how ASPPB implements this from a offerings perspective. And so that's just something I'm saying aloud and holding. And then I have a second question, but Dr. Phillips, if you have a related point to implementation, then I can yield.
Yeah, we've already gone through this fire drill once. We're getting ready for EPPP 2. So the longer the lead time you can provide us, because we really want to know it's a definite go
Yeah.
before we start changing regulations and statutes. Because we started to make those changes already based on a representation. This is not blamed on you, but a representation from ASPPB that the EPPP 2 was a foregone conclusion and that it didn't happen. So we don't want to waste our resources preparing for something that may not play out the way it's expected. So I just ask you to take that into account in the planning process. Does that make sense?
It make perfect sense. But I would think at this time, given that's what I try to emphasize, it's still EPPP. So it's still like I don't anticipate too much like a legislative changes in terms of on that, right?
Well, I could maybe give an example. Okay, so we know it's going to be an increased cost. And so we have statutory limits on what we can pass on. And maybe whatever it ends up being could exceed what we can do with it. I mean, so there's a lot of detail that and what we were talking about earlier about when can people take this test. Like we've been working on some changes to let people take the test earlier. But now if ASPPB says, no, you can't do that, what do we, where are we at? And it takes us a long time to get those changes made.
I mean, regulatory changes can take anywhere from 2 to 5 years in California because it goes through so many layers of review in our state government. At the board level, at the legal level, at the agency level, finally makes its way to the Office of Administrative Law and possibly the governor's office. It's quite a complicated thing. So I don't want to chastise ASPPB, but frankly, I found this whole process very mercurial. I do think you've arrived in a good place in terms of having one integrated exam. I think that'll be a happier resolution of the issue. But I want to be given enough time as a licensing board to make sure that we can put all our ducks in a row in a thoughtful way. And we're going to need a definite go-ahead that is happening as opposed to the boards change their mind one more time.
May I just add real quickly? Dr. Harpsheets referenced the legislation change, and that was done in California through Assembly Bill 282, which allows candidates who complete their doctoral program to take the exam. So that's current state law. And so let's assume fast forward to 2027, presumably then a person could take the EPP exam under existing law, but may not necessarily have the preparation for the skills side of the exam if it's integrated. And so that's the type of legislative change that, while at the surface from Atlanta may seem like there isn't a lot of change for us here, it is going to require getting through a bill that takes 9 months to make that change. And then to Dr. Phillips' point, an additional 2 to 4 to 5 years, depending on the regulatory process. I will say that the board is not the reason why it takes a very long time. We're fairly quick when it comes to reviewing regs, and when we want to do something, we move, and we've done it very quickly. But I just want to really make sure and stress that the narrative that this isn't going to be a lot of change at the legislative level, it's not a correct characterization of reality in California. And that's coupled by the fact that our board is going through a sunset review right now, where the legislature is considering a host of technical changes to how we work. And that is done on an every 5-year period. So I raise all these things just to say that how we roll this out should be done in a way that on the one hand, speaks to the need of having a skills-based exam and what you've shared with us today, and that there are things that happen in a vacuum and there are things that happen in reality. And I think how we do this in a world that recognizes reality, particularly for those of us here in California, will be really important. And Mr. Brooks wants to say something.
Yes, just the timeline. 2027 is very close in terms of making legislative and regulatory changes, and we can't even begin to draft perspective language until we know specifically what the fee is. There's also contracts that will need to be amended with Pearson VUE, but those can be done a bit quicker. But one thing I would emphasize to ASPPB is when we go to the legislature, if we do need to make any legislative changes, anything which is perceived as an increased barrier, an additional hardship and burden on licensees or people who are attempting to enter the profession initially from, right out of school, we're going to be asked to justify that. And so it's going to be really helpful if ASPPB has a really concretely demonstrated the consumer protection need for this.
Yeah.
As we will be asked, and I'm not sure if I'd be able to answer that right now.
I think that brings us back to the question of why do we need a competency-based exam? I think that's the question that's been asked over and over. And I know you mentioned it was like the 20 years in the making, but I just wonder, maybe you could let us know, like, who said we needed one? If this licensing exam is not to predict that person's not going to have a disciplinary action, who said we really, what was the basis of needing to have a competency-based exam?
I think that has several as I said, APA or other ASPB and other has done since early 2000. So to have all these this confidence seems to be helping this profession and at healthcare. So those, I guess, that's that argument. I think it's pretty reached a consensus. So that part we can continue kind of publish more articles or some history. We can summarize that on the part communication package to let people know. I won't kind of be surprised, especially for those jurisdictions. They have very high kind of changes every year. Every time they have kind of a lot of new people, as I heard, you are still going to fill some vacancy or those things. So those continue the communication. But in terms of the competence-based assessment for psychology, seems based on what I have learned, I've been with ASBBB for 2.5 years. I think this consensus has been reached. So, but if you need a more communication on that, we can help support that. But in terms of a question about, I see the legislation changes need time, but as I can see, this EPPP is still EPPP, right? You have that law, and also in terms of if the price goes up, the test length increased a little bit. I think those will not be dramatic change, but as every kind of assessment program, EPPP haven't raised the price, raised the kind of exam fee for 13 years. So all the, like my past medical license exam, they raise the fee much more frequently, every year or every other year, kind of $50 more, $100 more, those things more frequently. So I really hope that will not kind of cause a big legislative changes. So all these feedback we will consider. I don't know whether the test length will increase. As you know, if the testing center sit fee, that's a Pearson fee. So if we use their facility for 4.5 hours versus to 8 hours, definitely it's a different fee. And if we kind of adding more questions, right now it's 225 questions. If we increase the length to 250 or 300, so every question, so many work. So all these costs will be increased, right? So I hope that will not cause kind of delay in terms of legislative changes or those things, and also barriers. I would say it kind of as I'm reading this year's 25 doctor report, so it will be published next week. It looks like, as you just mentioned, some of the institute, they have a different performance than the others. So how to help them, it's a lot. It takes definitely more than just ASBBB. ASBBB more like the regulatory board together with you, but to help people to prepare, be more selective in terms of admission, also make this profession more kind of attractive to attract more people rather than saying, oh, we lowered the bar, let everybody start the program to be licensed. So those things all need to be considered together.
Dr. Song, just I want to emphasize again this point, which is while the existing state law does designate the EPPP as the exam, there are other related laws that we have on statute to the timing of when a person takes the exam that does have an implication for implementation. And so I'm concerned that this narrative that this is already named in statute shouldn't be an issue for implementation, that continues to be a narrative, because that is not the case that we can simply just rely on that existing statute for implementation. There are other laws related to the timing of taking the exam that we implemented in response to originally a 2-part exam that are currently on the books and that will require a change from us. So I hope that a key takeaway from our conversation today is not that, well, let me not use double negatives. A key takeaway from our conversation today is that California will have to make statutory changes with regard to a new EPPP exam. And to the point about the fee increase, aside from the concerns that all of us have about any increase in cost, Mr. Burke referenced that we named the price of the exam in the adoption of regulatory language. So the actual exam price is in our state regulations. So it's not the board. Mr. Burke, you'll be more eloquent than I am, but am I clear? Is my understanding that we say this exam costs X in our regulations?
It doesn't say X. It's the cost of the exact. It says in our regulations that it's the cost of what it's basically whatever it's set as by. Is it by ASPPB? So that regulation won't necessarily need to change, but there will have to be legislative changes related to this. And that's actually, even though regulations, they take longer and they're somewhat more of a pain, going to the legislature with this, because they're going to ask a lot of questions about, oh, this has changed. Why has this changed? What's the justification? You're a consumer protection agency. And yes, we will not be able to lean on, oh, well, they've made questions longer. They've added this component, therefore, it's more expensive now. So please pass this bill. And I just know that, having sat before them and gone to them to try and do things, that's the key. And in California, and I know in other jurisdictions as well, blue, red, whatever, anything which is considered making it harder, putting up more barriers than exist, it's a very hard sell.
So I want to emphasize that this is not about at least my comments are not in reference to a judgment call with regard to the exam and the changes of the exam. My comments are on this point are related to implementation, and the implementation does not happen for us even with a 2-year runway because of the necessary legislative changes. And so I think my ask is that any change that does happen, provide grace to the jurisdictions so that we have a runway that recognizes and a time period where both exams might be offered to accommodate the changes that will have to happen on our end at a legislative level. So that's my key point that I want to make and that on this issue. The second thing and I thought it would be quick, but the second thing I just will say is that the question I have hopefully will be shorter. Another licensing body in the state has received a lot of attention for the use of artificial intelligence to generate exam questions. It has caused a lot of, I think, heartburn for students who have taken that exam. It has caused a lot of concerns from the state legislature about the exam. And so I'm curious to hear from you if any questions for this new exam or from our existing exam, if artificial intelligence has been used to generate the questions.
Yeah, first, I really want to acknowledge, I will take this kind of feedback about the legislative changes and the needs time back into the whole kind of ASPPB board, especially, and appreciate that question. In terms of the AI use in the exam right now, not yet. We all the questions are based on human experts to create, and also we are not anticipating using AI in the short term, because fortunately we do have enough items. So as you know, the AI kind of a mass production very quickly, but the quality may not be there. So, but for us, we do not have that need right now to use AI to have that mass production. But whether as you know, AI become the buzzword. If we don't use any AI, people may feel, oh, we are so old-fashioned, professional, those things. So I'm thinking, as the head of the exam team, I'm thinking maybe explore some AI in terms of saying identify kind of a questions we call the enemy items. If this question you answer it, that cue your answer to the next question. We try to kind of don't include too many enemy items. That kind of a because if you answer 225 questions, some questions cue each other, so you end up not answering those questions. So we call it enemy. Actually, it's a friend for students, right? So those are usually identified by exam committee, saying if you know the answer to this question, you automatically know question to the other question. So these are usually identified by human experts, subject matter experts, but the computer, like those large language model, they can use so kind of screen the similarity of the language, and they kind of help kind of saying these are possible enemy items. So we might explore the use of that in terms of AI, but not AI generated items and because we are in the process of kind of copyright every questions. For AI generated questions, the Copyright Office in Washington, D.C. right now haven't made their policy to copyright those questions. So that's all these reasons. We have enough questions. We don't need to use AI. We also are copywriting our questions. AI-generated items may not be copyrighted, so we are not going to use AI-generated items for EPPP in the coming years.
So that's really helpful. Thank you for answering that question. I would ask, and I would hope the board would join me in that if there's any how ASPPB uses artificial intelligence for both test generation, which we know is not happening at the moment, or quality assurance, maybe is a better term for what I think I've heard you say. I think we would like to be kept updated on that, and mainly because while it's not currently the environment we live in where people are saying, oh, if you don't use AI, you're not at the forefront. The environment we're currently here in California is that this other licensing body has received a lot of scrutiny for their use of that. And then going back to the first item, I know I've been using the microphone a lot, but I'm curious if it's helpful for this board to write a letter to ASPPB with concerns about our implementation with regard to the timeline and to express. I know this exchange has been extraordinarily helpful, and I'm so appreciative that you're going to bring back this exchange to the office. But if it's helpful for you to have written communication from us on this front, and if we need a board motion, I'm seeing our council saying we need a board motion. So I'm happy to move that the board communicate to ASPPB the needs of our jurisdiction with regard to an implementation timeline of 2027.
Second.
I'd like to add to the motion a justification on the use of AI because we may get questions about that.
I love that. All right, so we're going to communicate. Can we do that in one motion? Or okay, and I'm happy to take the friendly amendment from Dr. Cervantes to also add a letter about making sure that this jurisdiction is kept updated about the use of artificial intelligence with regard to test creation and test quality.
Any other board comment? Go ahead.
I just wanted to add, and this should be also on the letter, what Mr. Fu said about making sure that we are clear about the eligibility. As part of consumer protection that Mr. Burke talked about, we still need to justify why we're adding this competency-based part of the EPPP. And previously, it was because it's because the internship is not sufficient to show competence. But now it seems like it can be taken right after coursework. So it doesn't really, so you have all this competency information that you can just sit through this exam. So I think that's not very clear, and we need more clarity with regards eligibility to take this exam and in a timely manner, so we can put it as part of our implementation. That is take into consideration consumer protection for California.
So I'm happy to take that friendly amendment also from Dr. Kasuga to add.
I disagree with the friendly.
Oh,
amendment,
just
so,
kidding.
Yeah.
Well, it's riveting.
Competency is essential to consumer protection. If you teach a medical student all sorts of scientific information about medicine, but you do not have a way of them demonstrating they are competent to actually perform medical procedures.
It's not about competency. What I'm talking about is with regards if this is measuring competency.
That issue is going to get resolved, I think. First, we have to see what ASPPB recommends, correct?
Yes.
So I think we can't get ahead of ourselves and say, oh, now you put us in a position where we're asking people to take a competency exam before they're competent. We don't know how this is going to play out. So I don't think we should over-anticipate. And I appreciate the concern you're raising, because as the law stands right now, that's the way it would be. But I want to go back to the core issue of competency. Healthcare and consumer law in the area of healthcare has moved increasingly toward a demonstration of competency. That's why we changed the continuing education model. Mm-hmm. It's continuing professional development. It's not just about people sitting around taking CE courses, paying attention or not paying attention. It's pretty variable in those rooms, as I've seen before, as I'm sure you have. Some people are in the back doing other stuff with their computers. But we always had a tradition of competency evaluation in California. We did that through the process of the oral examination, which predates when you went to graduate school. And actually, I was one of the first people to get licensed after they dropped it. But the reality was that was one way they tried to get people to demonstrate that they could actually take that knowledge and apply it to circumstances to demonstrate that people were competent. Unfortunately, that kind of testing was found to be too subjective, and there were too many lawsuits that resulted from. And since the board does not have unlimited money, we could not defend the continuation of that. And frankly, scientifically, it wasn't supported.
Understandably, yeah.
This is a very different way, I think, to get to the fact that people can take that knowledge and actually apply it to situations.
Yeah.
So I think as a matter of consumer protection, it's very important that there be a competency exam, some portion of the exam be dedicated to the competency of the individuals. So I don't think we want to get lost in the weeds here. The whole field, not just psychology, but healthcare in general, is moving toward competency measures. Medical schools are going back to hands-on training in the context of their medical school classes, because they've realized that they're sending a whole bunch of people that know a whole bunch of stuff out there, but don't have the actual skills to engage people and to determine what's going on. So I think it's really important that we not start to send a message that competency is not important, because as a consumer protection board, competency is incredibly important.
Yeah, quite the contrary too. That this actually what I'm trying to highlight is we got into this situation because we really are looking for better ways to measure competency. And the reason why I mentioned the whole internship thing and training supervisor review is that we're moving from that to somewhere else. That's the historical background of the EPPB Part 2, right? That's how it all started. And we're moving towards trying to make sure that we're trying to measure competency in our licensee in a way that is improved from past practices. And we just want to make sure that that's not lost if we're having this 2-part exam that can be taken after coursework, which doesn't make sense to me.
So if I can just bring it back to the motion real quickly.
Restate the motion
I'm happy
and
to
include all the parts.
I will.
Okay.
But on this point, Dr. Kusuga, I hear implementation is a fairly broad word, and I think what you've just brought up around eligibility, it makes absolute sense, especially what you've said about existing state law. I will, if you're comfortable with it, the implementation word is inclusive, I think, of some of these questions around eligibility and timing. I think what I'm hearing is not that we explicitly say this is when it should happen, but that any considerations around implementation should also take into account any decisions made about the timing of when a person should take the exam. Does that accurate? Would you be comfortable if we articulated it that way?
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that focus is on consumer protection when it comes to competency and the timing of it all.
Absolutely.
And I think what you can do is use it as an example of one of the changes we would need to make statutorily.
Perfect.
So I think it fits in nicely in that way.
So I will restate the motion because it's I've forgotten what the motion is. Yeah. So the motion is for the board to communicate to ASPPB about the implementation needs associated with an integrated EPPP and the role of artificial intelligence in test creation and quality assurance, quality assurance and control.
/ control. There you go.
And to delegate to the executive officer and to the board president any changes unnecessary for the delivery of this letter.
We need a
Mr.
second.
Fu might want to be involved in drafting the letter, since he's so articulate.
I delegated it to the board president.
Dr. Harp Sheets has seconded the motion. So I'm going to open this up for public comment. I know there's a lot of fidgeting. This is the longest we've gone in a while, so we're in the middle of a motion. So I would like to open this up. So Dr. Winkleman, I see you coming.
I'm gonna have to leave.
You can't vote on it then.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Winkleman, you're off for a minute. We're gonna take a 10-minute break because there's a lot of movement.
Okay.
Oh, it has to be 15. Okay, 15. Hello, everyone. We're gonna jump back in. Miss Mencia, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Tate,
I'm here.
Rogers, Kasuga,
Here.
Cervantes, here, Fu,
Here.
Harpsheets, are here, Neester,
She's really been
Phillips,
here.
Rescate, here, quorum established.
Thank you so much. So we're going to jump right back into public comment for this item, and Dr. Winkleman is here in front of the microphone, ready to go, and I appreciate it. So go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Elizabeth Winkleman with the California Psychological Association. I wanted to say thank you about several things. To start out, I want to thank you, Dr. Song, for your presentation. It included a lot of very helpful and good information. I also want to thank you and the ASPPB for responding to previous stakeholder input, including from the California Psychological Association, opposing the two separate tests and integrating this into one single EPPP. And it was really because the substantial and we felt unnecessary burden that this would pose on applicants. As you know, and as everyone in this room knows, it's an incredibly difficult, long, and burdensome process already to become a psychologist, and it's very rigorous. And we want to avoid any additional length or burden into that licensing timeframe, becoming licensed. I also really wanted to thank you, Dr. Song, for the improvements that I'm seeing about your plans of going forward, of engaging stakeholders more as you develop the integrated EPPP. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate that the board is planning to, the Board of Psychology is planning to send a representative to the ASPPB meeting. I think that's going to be very helpful, so I'm glad that the budget is available to be able to do that, because as we can see in this discussion, it's a really important issue, and the perspectives and the constraints and legal and regulatory needs of the boards of psychology may not always be evident to the ASPPB. So very glad to hear that. I want to also emphasize that there really is the need to grow a diverse and qualified psychological workforce, and to avoid making this process more difficult. Actually, California Psychological Association was the sponsor of the AB 262, which was aimed at streamlining the licensure process by allowing people to take the EPPP after completing all of their required coursework for their degree. So regarding, and I don't want to relitigate this whole issue, but regarding the competency, one of our concerns about the EPPP2 was that there was no demonstrated need for this additional exam, and that the SPE, the 3,000 hours of supervised professional experience and verification of experience, is how and all the training that people receive in their extensive graduate school and supervised professional experience requires a demonstration of competence, and furthermore that the low rates of discipline that are currently imposed on psychologists in California and do not show any need for like an additional competence exam. So just to be putting that out there. Also, in terms of the timing of the exam, it's still a pen and paper exam or computer exam. So this is still things that if people, they're not going into a room like a surgeon having to demonstrate they can perform a surgery on an actual person or on a cadaver or something. This is people, it is still a computer generated, written question and answer. So I'm not sure that people would not be able to take the exam after completing their coursework or their degree. Furthermore, many people have a lot of practical experience during their training. They engage in practicums. They may have engaged in other aspects of the mental health field prior to getting to the point of finishing their coursework in their doctoral program. And in terms of setting the minimum requirements, that is a minimum requirement, and anyone who feels they don't have sufficient clinical experience to pass the competency exam, nobody is mandating them. And so I really encourage flexibility in allowing applicants to take the exam when they're ready to take the exam. Nobody is mandating it. And in terms of the implementation on the part of ASPPB, I would encourage flexibility for the states, because as you've seen, the implementation is going to be very complex. I would encourage to consider flexibility for the states to determine their own eligibility beyond the very minimum, which I would say maybe is the coursework, which is what is in our law currently. So either completely allowing the states to determine when people can take the exam, or maybe putting at the very minimum, which may be, like in our case, for currently, the completing all the coursework necessary for the exam. And another suggestion that I just wanted to raise for consideration again in terms of the implementation, but also not raising additional barriers, because an additional cost of this exam, an additional length of this exam is in effect going to be seen as raising another barrier, as Mr. Burke had mentioned. Our legislature, and I think many other legislatures around the country, are not looking to make it more burdensome to get into a professional mental health care profession, which is so desperately needed, to maybe consider having just these new items integrated into the current exam. I haven't really heard why it would need to be a longer exam or a more expensive exam, and I think there is a potential maybe to be considered to just integrate into, you're calling it an integrated exam, but now you're saying, well, it's going to be integrated, but it's going to be longer and it's going to be more expensive. And just to consider whether it might be possible to just integrate different types of questions within the current exam. So thanks very much. And again, obviously our perspective is we want a qualified workforce. We want a diverse workforce. We want more people to be engaging in the practice of psychology and helping patients around our state. And of course, we want to meet a high quality standard, but we would not want to see things become more difficult and more expensive if there is no need in order to make sure that people are safe, protecting consumers and are safe to practice and are able to help our Californians. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Dr. Winkleman. I see you're coming up here. Welcome.
I'm Janet Farrell. I'm from the
Before you start, I apologize. The comment period is for 3 minutes. We went a little long on that one because nobody was timing. So I'll be timing and I'll give you a 30-second warning, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Janet Farrell from the San Diego Psychological Association. I've been here before, and thank you for all the work you do. The more I come, the more I'm impressed with this board and how much you care about the consumers of California and the psychologists who provide the service for them. I'm really impressed. So to get to my testimony, at the November 8th Board of Psychology meeting, before ASPPB began rolling out the integrated test, I proposed that the board assign to one of the committees, such as the licensing committee, the task of communicating with other states about their plans to develop a licensing exam as an alternative to the proposed revised EPPP. I am again proposing this and have updated information about it. I recently had a very informative phone conversation with John Balamowitz, the presiding member of the Texas State Board of Examiners of Psychologists. He reported that Texas, which was galvanized by the Uvalde school shooting, sees this recent proposed revision of the EPPP to contain more unnecessary barriers to licensure. As Balamowitz put it, ASPPB took that cake out of the oven and is now trying to present it with a different frosting. I know that the California Board of Psychology is very committed to limiting barriers to licensure, and I appreciate that very much. I also know that you looked into developing an examination a couple years ago, and it was too time and resource difficult to do that at that time as an alternative. So let's revisit that with the help of other states. This coming year, the Texas board will ask the Texas legislature for $1 million to start to develop a licensing exam for psychologists as an alternative to the revised EPPP. They are likely to get it, given that the mandate to remove the barriers to licensure came directly from their own legislature after Uvalde. The Texas board welcomes California to join them in using Texas's proposed test. So far, New York, Oregon, Florida, and Tennessee have all expressed renewed interest in doing so.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Of course, if ASPP drops their latest profit-driven proposal, which it can certainly afford to do with an $8 million annual budget, and goes back to the original EPPP and lets the states determine how to measure competency, then the states will gladly drop any plans to develop an alternative. I am asking that you, the Board of Psychology in California, communicate with other states like Texas about their plans to develop an alternative exam for California psychology licensure.
Thank you, Dr. Farrell. And just to let you know, our executive officer has been in contact with Texas. So thank you.
Oh, great.
Any other public comment for this agenda item? Come forward, please. And again, just a reminder on the 3-minute, and you'll be given a 30-second. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. It has been a pleasure to be here. I'm a newly licensed clinician. I will have been licensed for a full year in August.
Congratulations.
So it's a pleasure to be my first one of these. I just wanted to express some serious concerns that I have about the comments related to integrating AI into any potential future EPPP exam in terms of any implementation, in terms of the generation of test questions, or in terms of whatever other implementation it might have that would actually affect the language or the construction of the exam itself. We're already seeing some pretty significant problems with the implementation of AI in other licensing capacities in terms of the effects on the
AI exam fiasco with regards to the state board for the bar exam. We're seeing some pretty significant problems in terms of course, lawsuits and other settlements with regards to that. I also believe that AI would probably exacerbate existing problems that already are in a matter of racial and gender inequality in terms of exam construction, and that as we see that implementation, I expect that AI would probably exacerbate those effects, especially if there is if it's something that is being integrated, especially with what sounds like is regards to copyright material, the ability. It sounds like this is already something that they have discussed implementing, and the main reason that they haven't done that already is because of their inability to copyright those said test questions and be able to make a profit from the exams because of their ability to copyright those kinds of exam questions. I think that it would exacerbate those barriers in terms of already existing problems in terms of how test construction and pre-existing concerns about racial and gender inequality would be a concern to be implemented. So just to keep my comments constrained, especially with regards to the implementation of AI and this kind of future exam construction, I think that's something that this board should take very seriously with regards to the burden of proof on the people who are advocating on behalf of using that technology. Not just so that we can see what the effects of it might be in terms of, thank you, in terms of exacerbation of existing bias and other concerns that we have with regards to creating a diverse and multicultural, multifaceted field. And then I also just would like to say that I appreciate the passion everyone is bringing to this conversation. It has been, I expected this to be a much more dull meeting, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, and congratulations again on being newly licensed. And we try very hard not to be dull. We're a fun group. Any other public comment on this item? Thank you. I'll bring this back to the board. And Ms. Mencia, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Tate?
Aye.
Rogers? Kasuga? Aye. Cervantes? Aye. Fu?
Dull. I mean, I.
Harpsheet? Nystrom? Aye. Phillips?
Aye.
Rescate? Aye. Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you so much. And we are going to jump to item number 18 because, as Ms. Mencia has pointed out to me, they are related. So this is the discussion and possible action of proposed changes to language and licensure application forms related to AB 282.
Yes. So with the discussion that we just had on implementation on eligibility for the examination of the EPPP, so Assembly Bill 282 was passed in 2023, signed into law by Governor Newsom. The bill amends Section 2914 of the Business and Professions Code, modifying the examination eligibility process for psychologist licensure in California. So under existing law, applicants must pass both the examination for the EPPP, or examination for professional practice in psychology, and the California Psychology Laws and Ethics examination, the complete, with eligibility criteria and examination procedures defined in regulation. AB 282 permits applicants who have completed all academic coursework for a qualifying doctoral degree, excluding internship and dissertation requirements, to sit for the EPPP and the CPLEE, or both. The bill also directs the Board of Psychology to establish a process for verifying any additional eligibility requirements imposed by the national examination and entities beyond academic coursework. So to implement these statutory changes, the board approved regulatory package on May 19th, 2023, which served a dual purpose: to implement the EPPP Part 2 skills exam, effective January 1st, 2026, incorporating the provisions of AB 282. The amended regulatory language was approved May 10th, 2024, to reflect the updates on both components. However, On October 22nd, 2024, the Association of State and Provincial Psychology Board, ASPBB, announced a pause on the planned implementation of EPPP as a two-part exam. As a result, we suspended our two packages and focused on a standalone package to just implement the AB 282 eligibility requirements. This regulatory language has been completed and is currently under review by the DCA Legal Counsel and Budget Office. Once this review is finalized, the board will incorporate any recommended revisions and the updated regulatory language and its accompanying licensure application forms will be presented to the board at our August 22nd, 2025 meeting. Due to the separation of these regulatory efforts and the pause on the EPPP Part 2, the anticipated implementation date of AB 282 was tentatively rescheduled for 2027.
Thank you, Ms. Mancia. Any board comment? This is an informational item at this time. Thank you. Any public comment on this item? Again, it's an informational only. If you do have a public comment, please come forward and have a seat. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mencia. Moving on to item number 14. This is the Legislative and Regulatory Affairs Committee update. And Dr. Kasuga is the chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Tate. I'll start it off with agenda item 14A1. This is a hand carry item, and Mr. Burke will start us off with that.
Thank you, Dr. Kasuga. This is an informational update, just providing a bit of a timeline on where we have been with Sunset. So in July 2024, we received questions from the legislature. We drafted responses, which were approved by the board in December, and then we sent them over to the legislature on January the 3rd, 2025. The board, the committees, the Joint Senate and Assembly Business Professions Committee reviewed what we'd sent and sent us a background paper with 17 issues and questions. The board met in April after our hearing to approve the final response. We sent that over on, I think, the 24th of April. And then as a result of that process, the committees have amended language relevant to the Board of Psychology into SB 775, which is, if there's any questions on the Sunset review process up to now, we could do that. If not, it's a good time just to go right into 14B, SB 775. Jackie, I know you've been doing the analysis on that. Do you want to take it from here? Thank you.
Yep, I can take it from here. Okay, so with Senate Bill 775, introduced by Senator Angelique Ashby on February 21st, 2025, it was introduced as a sunset bill for the Board of Behavioral Sciences, and it was amended on April 30th, 2025 to include the Board of Psychology. This bill extends the statutory authority of the California Board of Psychology and the Board of Behavioral Sciences from January 1st, 2026 to January 1st, 2030, following the 2025 sunset review. SB 775 incorporates several of the new issues raised in the Board of Psychology's 2025 sunset review report. Included in the bill are the reinstatement of the $25 fee for supervisor changes, expansion of qualifying academic disciplines for psychological testing technicians to fields like neuroscience, cognitive science, and behavioral science, and updates to enforcement provisions. However, not included in the bill are psychotherapist client privilege exception for investigations, clarifying foreign degree qualifications, aligning professional corporation provisions with the Moscone-Knox Act, and making technical updates related to the research psychoanalysts. Since the bill is still early in the legislative process, there remains the opportunity for additional amendments to incorporate the board's remaining requests that were raised in the Board of Psychology's 2025 Sunset Review Report. The board staff recommends that we take a position of support for SB 775, but requests that we include amendments submitted in the Sunset Report that have not been included.
Thank you, Ms. Mancia. Do we get like a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the legislation if amended.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Phillips and seconded by Dr. Tate. Any discussion? Seeing no board discussion, can we get like a public discussion?
Hi, Dr. Elizabeth Winkleman again from California Psychological Association. Want to thank you again for including the testing technician, expanding the qualifying degrees to become a testing technician. Mentioned that we are strongly opposed to the erosion of the psychotherapist patient privilege language that you are planning to ask to be added. As we've discussed at length in previous meetings and in the hearing. Actually, many other professional groups have also written opposed letters to that. All the main associations of mental health practitioners have also opposed the addition of the language that would erode the psychotherapist patient privilege. But I also wanted to ask a question about the cleanup language in proposed cleanup language in Business and Professions 2913. Again, I've raised this at previous meetings, but in the current draft, I think I still saw that there is a reference to preliminary doctoral exams as one, and it's in 2913. And I thought that the board had decided to remove that from the suggested revisions because some psychology programs do not have preliminary doctoral exams. So just wanted to raise that for clarification. And if you meant to delete that from the additional proposed revisions. Thank you.
We talk about changing.
Mary, you have a
Yeah, we did talk about changing wording, and you were at the meeting. And
Right, but then when I read the materials for this meeting, I didn't see the change, so I just wanted to make sure that whatever was being suggested to the legislature did reflect the previous meeting. Maybe I missed it in the materials, but in the materials I saw that that language was still there.
Okay, I'll follow up on that because the board did change in it was April. Was it the April meeting we made a change?
So.
We did send that over to the legislature, and of course, as you can see elsewhere, some changes were taken up, some not. I have had conversations with the consultant, and they acknowledge yes, some things have been for policy reasons, some things haven't been simply because it was amended in fairly quickly, and there will likely be other changes to the bill.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another public comment? Seeing none, can we call the vote?
Yes. Tate?
Aye.
Rogers? Kasuga?
Aye.
Cervantes?
Aye.
Booth?
Aye.
Harpsheets?
Aye.
Nistro?
I'm going to recuse myself.
Phillips?
Aye.
Rescate?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 14B2. Ms. Mencia, take it away.
Yes, SB 470 Bagley King Open Meeting Act, teleconferencing. The proposed bill was introduced February 19th, 2025 by Assemblymember John Laird. As originally introduced, this bill amended the Bagley King Open Meeting Act by permanently extending provisions for state body teleconferencing that were originally set to expire January 1st, 2026. The bill maintains the rules that allow state bodies and advisory boards to conduct meetings via teleconference with several key requirements. For example, that the meetings are visible and audible to the public, remote access is provided, public comments are allowed, agendas are posted online and at least 10 days in advance, and that one member is physically present at a teleconference location. The bill also allows members to participate remotely under certain conditions and mandates roll call votes and public reporting of actions. Members are required to appear on camera during open meetings. On February 26, SB 470 was referred to the Senate Committee on Governmental Organizations and the Senate Committee on Judiciary and was set for hearing on March 25th, 2025. On March 25th, SB 470 was re-referred to the Committee on Governmental Organizations and the Senate Committee on Judiciary. On March 27th, it was set for hearing for April 8th. On April 10th, the bill was amended to extend the repeal date from January 1st, 2026 to January 1st, 2030. And as of that date, the provisions will remain permanent. As of now, on April 17th, 2025, it was set for hearing for April 28th. And on April 29th, it was ordered for a third hearing, though the date has not been set. The board staff recommends that the board take a support position on SB 470.
Any motions?
I'm happy to make the motion to take a support position on SB 470.
Thank you. Any second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Dr. Tate and second by Dr. Cervantes. Any board discussion? Seeing none, any public discussion, comments? None. Can we call the vote, please?
Yes. Tate?
Aye.
Rogers? Kasuga?
Aye.
Cervantes?
Aye.
Fu?
Aye.
Herbsheets?
Aye.
Nystrom?
Recuse.
Phillips?
Aye.
Rescate?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All right, moving on to 14B3, SB 641.
Yes. Department of Consumer Affairs and Department of Real Estate, States of Emergency, Waivers and Exemptions. This bill was introduced on February 20, 2025 by Senator Angelique Ashby. This bill expands upon Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-1525, which was issued on January 29, 2025 in response to Southern California's state of emergency. Executive Order N-1525 postpones for 1 year the license renewal fees for Department of Consumer Affairs licensees that expire between January 1st, 2025 and June 30th, 2025, and whose residential or business address is within the impacted areas. The bill grants the Department of Real Estate and the boards under the Department of Consumer Affairs the authority to waive licensing fees, duplicate fees, examination fees, and continuing education requirements for applicants and licensees affected by a declared federal, state, or local emergency, or whose home or business is in a disaster area. The authority has no repeal date. The bill will also require all applicants and licensees to provide an email address to their respective boards or departments. The bill also prohibits contractors, licensees under the contract state license law from engaging in private debris removal unless they meet certain qualifications. Additionally, it would require the real estate commissioner to identify unlawful fraudulent practices during the state of emergency and provide public notice. On March 5th, 2025, SB 641 was referred to the Committee on Business and Professions and Economic Development and the Committee on Public Safety. On March 18th, it was set for hearing for April 7th. On April 9th, it was amended, however, the amendments were minor, and was set for hearing for May 12th. The board staff recommends the board take a position of support for SB 641.
All right, thank you. Before we take a motion, a possible motion, I have a question with regards how many people so far have been affected by the emergency with regards like licensure renewal. Do we have like
might be Stephanie?
I don't have
Okay.
the specific numbers. We are tracking it. The last time I looked, I believe 13 people had been impacted. This is as of about a month ago. Some of them, obviously, it's automatic based on the zip code for your address of record. Some people have then contacted us saying, oh no, I want to pay now because, of course, the renewal fee isn't waived. It's merely deferred, so people would like to pay it over the 2 years rather than having to pay in 2 consecutive years. So yes, we're tracking it and doing it, and we are keeping in mind the sort of governor's instruction that there are people whose maybe their address doesn't fall exactly within that area, but we're trying to be as helpful as we can with everyone because so many people have been affected in so many areas in so many ways. We're aware of that.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. I just wanted to acknowledge both the that we wanted to support the field and the governor in terms of making sure that we are providing help with as many licensees as possible. At the same time, looking at making sure that we're tracking how the fiscal impact of this, which is very minimal at this point. So that truly outweighs the benefit of the waiver. And like what Mr. Burke said, this is like a waiver.
Happy to make a motion to support.
Thank you, Dr. Tate, and second by Dr. Harb-Sheets. Any other board discussion? Seeing none, how about public member discussion, comments? None. So please call the vote.
Okay. Tate?
Aye.
Rogers? Kasuga?
Aye.
Cervantes?
Aye.
Fu?
Aye.
Harp-Sheets?
Aye.
Nystrom?
Recuse.
Phillips?
Aye.
Rescate? Aye. Thank you. The motion carries.
Okay, moving on to B4, SB 579, please.
Yes. Mental Health and Artificial Intelligence Working Group. The proposed bill was introduced on February 20, 2025 by Senator Stephen Padilla. The bill would require the Secretary of Government Operations, who is appointed by the governor, subject to confirmation by the Senate, to appoint a Mental Health and Artificial Intelligence Working Group by July 1st, 2026. That would determine the role of artificial intelligence in mental health settings. This bill would require the working group to take input from various stakeholder groups, including health organizations and academic institutions. The bill would require the working group to produce a report of its findings to the legislature by July 1st, 2028. As of March 5th, 2025, SB 579 was referred to the Senate Committee on Governmental Organization. It was set for hearing on March 25th and was amended. However, the amendments were minor. As of April 4th, it was set for hearing on April 21st. And on April 21st, the Appropriations Committee referred the proposed bill to suspense file. The board staff recommends that the board take a position of support if amended to include psychologists in the work group.
Just a little bit of background. I think that is important for a psychologist to be part of the work group, because the needs of psychologists is there's some uniqueness to our needs that may not be addressed by other mental health professionals. So having representation will be most helpful for what we're looking at.
I make a motion to support this bill.
Thank you, Dr. Harp-Sheets. Any second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Dr. Harp-Sheets and seconded by Dr. Phillips. Any other board comments, discussion, questions? Seeing none. Any public comments? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. It's afternoon now. Okay. Good afternoon, Tyler Rindy, on behalf of the California Psychological Association. We're one of the co-sponsors on SB 579 with the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists. Just want to thank the board for consideration of the bill. And if the motion carries, we're happy to bring the discussion up with the author's office of including a psychologist and one of the named behavioral health professionals. So thank you again for consideration, and hope the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, let's have a vote.
Tate?
Aye.
Rogers? Kasuga?
Aye.
Cervantes?
Aye.
Fu?
Aye.
Harp-Sheets?
Aye.
Nystrom?
Recuse.
Phillips?
Aye.
Rescate?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries.
All right.
We need to go back to SB 641 and ask if there was any public comment. We went right to the vote.
Oh,
It's if there is public comment, we can revote, but if there's no public comment, we can just move on.
okay. Any public comment on SB 641, Ashby?
That's okay.
Seeing none.
Thank you. I apologize. I missed that.
No problem. So moving on to 14C, item 1, bills with active positions taken by the board. We only have one, and this is updates for information only. I'll have you take it away, Ms. Mencia.
Yes, AB 489, Healthcare Professions, Deceptive Terms or Letters, Artificial Intelligence. The proposed bill was introduced February 20, 2025 by Assemblymember Mia Bonta. AB 489 would establish legal provisions that prohibit artificial intelligence use of certain terms, letters, or phrases that falsely suggest or imply that the care being provided by AI is from a licensed or certified natural person in healthcare profession. The bill would also expand upon existing laws that make it illegal for unlicensed individuals to use terms or communications implying they are authorized to practice a healthcare profession. The bill holds entities deploying AI technology responsible if they are using AI language in the AI's advertising or functionality. Violations would be subject to enforcement by the appropriate healthcare boards, with each instance of misuse considered a separate violation. On February 27th, 2025, AB 49 was presented to the board for possible position. The board determined to support AB 49 and also requested the following amendments to strengthen the language. And that is the inclusion of the words reports and assessments to Section C. On March 17, 2025, AB 49 was referred to Assembly Committee on Business and Professions and the Committee on Privacy and Consumer Protection in collaboration with the Board of Registered Nursing and the Assembly Health Committee. On March 28, 2025, the board submitted proposed amendments to AB 489 to the Business and Professions Committee. And on April 10th, AB 489 was amended. These amendments include the board's recommendations of assessments and reports, as well as authorizing healthcare professional licensing boards to pursue injunctions or restraining orders to enforce provisions under the bill. On April 21st, 2025, AB 489 was re-referred to the Committee on Privacy and Consumer Protection.
Thank you, Ms. Mencia, and I just wanted to commend the work of board staff with regards getting this amendments included in the bill. Okay. Any comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to 14. Do we have to?
Yeah, I was going to suggest just for the watch bills, they're already in everyone's material, so we don't have to go through.
Mhm.
Yes.
So just open it up.
Any questions on watch bills?
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, perfect. Well, we have Ms. Mencia here, and that's 14D 1 to 9. Any board questions? Seeing none, any public comments, questions? None? That concludes 14, agenda item number 14.
So at this time, we will take a break for lunch. It's about 12:15. We will come back at 1 o'clock and resume with item number 15. Thank you so much. Hello, welcome back. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch. And Ms. Mencia, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Bringing up mine. Okay. Tate.
Here.
Rogers. Kasuga.
Here.
Cervantes.
Here.
Booth.
Here.
Harpsheet.
Here.
Nystrom.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Rescate.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you so much. We are jumping to agenda item number 15. Dr. Kasuga, did you want to present this item?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Tate. So agenda item number 15 is legislative items for future meeting. The meeting.
Oh, no. Is it a person?
Are you there?
Let's break for a few moments, please. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you. I just want to make sure everyone's situated and comfortable. Okay. Thanks again. Dr. Kasuga, sorry for interrupting.
No problem. So agenda item number 15, legislative items for future meeting. The board may discuss other items of legislation in sufficient detail to determine whether such items should be on a future committee or board meeting agenda and or whether to hold a special meeting of the committee or board to discuss such items pursuant to Government Code Section 11125.4. So any legislative items for future meeting from the board? Seeing none, how about the public? Any legislative items for future meeting? Moving on, seeing none. 16?
Public comment, please. Or did you already? Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
You're on it. I'm not. Go ahead.
Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 16, regulatory update, review, and potential consideration of additional changes. And I have Ms. Mencia here. So for the regulatory updates, there aren't any updates on any of the items, but if anyone has any questions on any of the items here from A to G, please let us know. Anyone from the board? Seeing none, any public comments on regulatory items A to G? And this, the updates are all available on the materials. Okay, seeing none, that concludes my agenda item.
Thank you, Dr. Kasuga. Agenda item number 17. This is the consideration and possible action on ASPPB Norma P. Simon Regulatory Service Award nomination. Dr. Phillips, please.
Okey-dokey. Many of you on the board know Jackie Horn, Dr. Jackie Horn, who was on the board for a very long time. She actually spent 2 stints on the board, one several years ago where she was president of the board, and more recently 2 terms where she was chair of the licensing committee and basically spearheaded the pathways to licensure. Dr. Horn has been very active in ASPPB, which is the estate, for those that don't know the pseudonym, it's the Association of State and Provincial Psychology Boards. It's kind of a national, well, it's the American and Canadian organization for all of the psychology boards. I became aware that there was an award that was available for contribution to ASPPB. Dr. Horn was involved with them for a very long time. She also served as a liaison to this board relative to developments with ASPPB and as a resource to answer questions after she left the board. So I'd like the board to, I move for the board to approve a letter written by the president of the board recognizing the state, national, and international contributions of Dr. Horn and to nominate her for the award, which is the Norma P. Simon Award of ASPPB.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments from board members? Are there any public comment? Wow, that's fantastic. Ms. Mencia?
Yes. Tate?
Aye.
Rogers? Kasuga?
Recuse?
Cervantes?
Aye.
Fu?
Aye.
Herbsheets?
Aye.
Nystrom?
Aye.
Phillips?
Aye.
Rescate?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to Dr. Horn.
Can I make a comment that I love Dr. Horn, but I just I'm not sure about involvement with ASPPB as far as committees, so I just have to recuse myself for that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Agenda item number 20 is recommendations for agenda items for future board meetings. The board may not discuss or take action on any matter raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda of a future meeting. Board members who have suggestions besides mindfulness. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mindfulness activity. Anything else? Any public comment at this time? This is for agenda item number 20, recommendations for agenda items for future board meetings. Come forward, Dr. Poole. And pull that microphone really close.
I would like to request that, that the executive officer communicate with us at a future board meeting about his interactions with the with the presiding officer or whoever it is. I don't think it's the presiding officer. I think that would be the person in your role. But whoever you're communicating with on the Texas board, particularly about this upcoming legislation that they're proposing for developing their own alternate test for licensure.
Thank you. Perfect. We'll get that update on a future meeting.
Dr. Tate, I am not sure if this is already on the agenda or just clarifying that it's going to happen. The stakeholder meeting for the Board of Psychology BBS. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next licensing committee. Just wanted to make sure that that is scheduled and that we provide stakeholders ample time to.
I believe it's July 11th.
July, but Ms. Chung and I are going to have a meeting on that next week to talk about some updates and stuff. But currently, we're talking about July.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I know that it says we're going into closed session, but we do not have any closed session items, but I do have two more items before we end today. And the first one is, I don't know if many of the group knows this, but today is Dr. Stephen Phillips' last meeting with the Board of Psychology. And so I wanted to give a moment to the board members and even the public to make comments or would you like comments? Just drink your Diet Coke. And we also have a resolution for you. And maybe I should start with the resolution.
Yes.
Yes.
That would be so nice. So a lot of fun things. But at the end of the day, it's resolved that the Board of Psychology and Department of Consumer Affairs Director, by token of this resolution, on behalf of the state of California, express their deepest gratitude to Stephen Phillips for his wisdom, leadership, excellence, dedication, and valuable contribution and exemplary service during his term on the Board of Psychology. So before I open it to the board, I'm going to take the I love a microphone. So just briefly, Dr. Phillips was the first person to call me when he was president to congratulate me on getting on the board. And it was an amazing call because I was so excited to be on the board. I didn't know what to expect. And he was gracious, kind. I came on the board with Dr. Harb Sheets, and Dr. Harb Sheets and I, we didn't know, we ruffled some feathers in the first meeting, and we didn't know it, but we learned really quick. Yeah. Under as the resolution says, under your wisdom and your leadership. And you've been an amazing, amazing mentor and a good friend. And so I'm going to miss you, but I'm still going to keep calling you. So thank you. So anyone else, I'm opening it to the board.
Steve, you've been such a
Microphone.
Oh, my yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I get it. I know, and then it doesn't even go off. I'm trying to keep it away. Just want to thank you for being such a leader and also encouraging me to apply to the board. But we met at the CPA Ethics Committee. That's how we originally met. And but what a leader. And I really have always appreciated your guidance and your leadership. So thoughtful and so knowledgeable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Phillips, as a public member, I've learned a great deal from you, and I appreciate your contribution to psychology and consumer protection and all of your years of service. Thank you.
Dr. Phillips, as someone aptly noted today, it's never dull on the Board of Psychology. People come in with an expectation that will go on and on and on, and we do just go on and on and on. But we do so with humor, and a lot of it because of the way you have led and the way you continue to lead. And I will echo all the other comments made by folks who've gone before me and just speak to the care at which you've taken new members of the board. When, as a public member, I was new to the board. You were the first person to call me as well. And you demonstrated such a desire to build a positive culture on the board and collegiality that made sure that all of us felt welcomed. And also added levity in the most difficult decisions we've had to make as well. So thank you so much for your leadership and appreciate it.
Hi. I'm already doing the waterworks here. I love Dr. Phillips, and when I share everyone's experience about being welcomed as a new board member. It's even before. I was like an early career psychologist, just renewed it once, scared of the board, and I was offered to maybe apply for a board position, but I was like, I don't know if I'm, even, ready for such a role. And they said, well, we'll have Dr. Phillips call you. And he was the most welcoming. He really, I really enjoyed talking to him. And I was like, well, I think I'll be fine. And he told me that, yeah, we like these things. It's not for everybody, Other people find it boring, but I love it. And I like the same things, regulatory and consumer protection stuff. I always feel like you are always looking at listening to different perspectives, and sometimes I'm not as articulate at voicing what I'm trying to say, and sometimes you would say what I'm trying to say better than me, but you somehow always get me, and I always appreciate that you try to always listen, you've always been here since I started the board, I guess since 2017, and I'm gonna miss you terribly, but we were so lucky to have you all this time. Yeah, thank you so much.
Echo the same thing as everyone else. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your passion, very passionate speeches. And that passion, it helped understand a lot of, as a public member, so it helped me understand a lot of the drive that the board has and the importance. I always understood the importance of mental health, but hearing you kind of describe the different things and how reflecting on why this is important, why that's important, it made a big difference in how I view things and how I vote sometimes. So thank you for your wisdom and also just making me laugh. And the Diet Coke you left in my car that day. Thank
you. Oh my gosh, Dr. Phillips. I will miss you on this board tremendously. Your analysis of issues, your ability to explain it for us who are public members and the public who joins us to understand the nuance of how things became policy and why they are the way they are. I've learned so much from you. I will miss you tremendously. Like others, I thought I was special, but like others, when I first joined the board, you were also the first person that I talked to, and I asked you about committees, and you explained it to me, and I felt a little bit insecure not being a practitioner. Was I going to understand this? You put me at ease, and you helped me understand the practice, the profession, and our responsibility as a board. Thank you. Thank you for serving on this board, for enhancing all of our experience serving on a regulatory body, and for bringing it every single time. Thank you.
And the fashion too, bringing the fashion and the wit and all that.
The whole
class.
package.
Yeah.
Mr. Burke and staff, please.
Yes, just wanted to say thank you so much. I started with the board in 2014. Dr. Phillips was on the board, and I actually started as the LEDGE regulatory analyst, the role now held by Jackie Matsier. And even then, you were very welcoming. When I was a new state worker, I didn't know anything, and you were very helpful when we went to board meetings. You were always so approachable with staff. You'd laugh and joke with us. That made us feel very good and comfortable. And just thank you for the sheer amount of work you put in to being a board member. So much that goes on sort of behind the scenes, where we're drafting legislative language, proposed regulatory text. Dr. Phillips is always so immeasurably helpful. He's always willing to respond to emails. You often, you'll get a very detailed, very helpful response, usually around 1, 2 a.m. Over the weekend. And it's always helpful. So much of the really heavy work that the board has done over the last decade, Dr. Phillips, your fingerprints have been all over it. So thank you so much. And you're going to be tremendously missed. But this is a warning, not a threat. We are going to still reach out to you. We need something wordsmithed, or we need help with research psychoanalysts or something like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're an evaluator. Any other staff members like to come forward? Any public members like to come forward with a comment or two? Oh, Dr. Son.
I very new to regulatory board with psychology, but I'm so lucky to be with you in the last 2 in-person meeting, including this one. And every time when Dr. Phillips kind of talk, that really it's a kind of so compassionate leadership, and also very holistic view, like what today he said about the competence for healthcare providers. Yeah, not just the book knowledge, need to show the real kind of interaction with clients. This is so comprehensive and so convincing. As a kind of, I'm also a researcher, so I really like this kind of a very objective but very scientific-based way to explain things so well, and also your kind of a very deep understanding of kind of assessment, this kind of a licensure exam versus psychological testing. I've been in this kind of a large credential assessment since I got my master degree kind of from Rutgers, and then my PhD from Rutgers for 20 some years. So you are so I'm so impressed by your deep understanding, and also the way you can convey this message to the board and to the public. I'm going to miss you, and please kind of a response to our call. We need a person all the time. Thank you.
There's so many places you can go, Doctor. So many options.
CPA has some governance positions available too. I've been there before. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Phillips. First of all, with I love your laugh. You're so much fun and funny. And Mr. Fu, I also have to call you both out for the fashion level of the board. But But seriously, really appreciate your incredible hard work, insightful analyses that you brought to all the discussions at the board. I started coming to these board meetings regularly in 2016, so you've really been a part of my experience. And as you said, it's not for everyone, but I'm like you. I'm like, this is just so interesting. So it's been fun to have the opportunity to have your analysis and hard work contribute to the work of this board and psychology and protecting consumers. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Dr. Phillips.
I think I have to respond. I have to get the last word in. But it's been such a privilege to be on the board and to share time with all of you and your predecessors on the board. It's been a really remarkable experience. I made the decision to apply for the board after I survived cancer. And I thought, I've always been interested in what the board does, which people find very puzzling. I remember the former CEO of CPA said, "You think it's interesting?" So I applied, and it came to pass. And it's been, one of the greatest professional experiences I could possibly have. Particularly just the people I've gotten to know. Not only board members, but staff members, licensees that we come across in time. We've had some regular visitors before. Some of them didn't like me, but I liked them. But it's been a really incredibly enriching experience to be of service to my profession and to the consumers of the state of California. And just like to thank you all for the opportunity. And it's been a real fun thing. I've been on the board for 12 years now. And I am ready to hang up my spurs. I'm getting to a point in my life where I'm starting to cut back on my commitments to things, so it kind of comes at the perfect time as I slowly wind down over time. A lot of psychologists talk about wanting to practice psychology till they die. I'm not a psychologist. I have compassion for myself. I'm going to go live in Europe for a couple of months or something, but I'm not, it's going to be a couple more years before I semi-retire, but I've started to cut back on other parts of my life, like teaching, and I will just look back on this and all of you with a great deal of fondness. And it's so wonderful to see psychologists and other folks show up at these meetings. For years, it was like crickets out there. There'd be like maybe an attorney, Elizabeth. It was like a lot of empty seats, and it's wonderful to see everybody have an opportunity to see what the board does, and that we're actually fairly logical, and we are practicing psychologists, at least 5 of us are, and all of us, whether a public member or a psychologist, do give good consideration to what it's like to be a psychologist and what it's like to practice healthcare in the contemporary United States. And it's pretty crazy, isn't it? And sometimes I think people think we make it worse. I will remember most of all going through the CPD hearings for continuing professional development, where everybody was hysterical and angry at us and told us we were doing the wrong thing. And now every psychologist I talk to says, "Oh, this is so much easier than what we were doing." By and large, that's the response back we've gotten. Because psychologists do tend to occupy a lot of different roles, and kind of interacting with other psychologists and interacting with the board gives you a broader knowledge of what's going on in psychology. So it's wonderful that you're all here. And, I don't know that I'll drop in on very many board meetings. I think I've been to enough board meetings, but I may watch on the video. Then I can make all the asides and swear as much as I want.
You will hold
Nobody will know what I'm saying. It won't be on camera. But it's been a great experience. I just want to thank everybody for the kind remarks and for the experience.
Thank you. Okay, the second thing before I adjourn, Mr. Polk, can you please tell us our CPD credit? You're already packing up.
Having said CPD, speaking on.
Thank you for attending the board meeting today. For attending the full duration of today's meeting, 6 hours under CPD category number 1, attendance at a California Board of Psychology meeting will be credited. For your CPD records, please notate today's date as May 9th, 2025, the name of today's meeting, which is board meeting, and 6 hours for your records. Again, please maintain this record as certificates of attendance will not be provided. Thank you again for attending the board meeting, and please sign out on the attendance sheet before leaving today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Polk, and this meeting is now adjourned.